What's up guys, I'm Wes.
I'm Josh.
And we are back for the long-awaited and much anticipated comparison between two awesome light adventure bikes.
So today we're actually doing something a little bit different. We're going to be comparing a built bike to a built bike. So we've built both of these bikes out as light adventure bikes.
Now I'm riding the 450L.
Yep, and I'm going to be on the 2018 KTM 500 EXC-F.
So in this video, we're not only going to be comparing the bikes head-to-head to each other, we also want to compare the accessories and luggage that we've got outfitted on these bikes.
Yeah, we've got about a 150-mile loop, so we've got about 60 to 70 miles up to camp, and so we got to get up in the mountains and get going. So we'll talk to you guys in a few.
Okay, we're finally leaving Rocky Mountain. Let's get on the road. Yeah, down here in the valley, we're heading up over that mountain. Should be a good time.
We're off, and it is a pretty beautiful day here in Utah. It's pretty hot though. We're looking forward to getting up into the mountains and getting to some cooler temperatures because it's about 90 degrees out here in the valley. So we're definitely excited to get up there.
That's right, but before we do that, we gotta go grab some grub because it is lunchtime and we're all hungry. And we also gotta get some gas before we head up the canyon. So let's get going.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, are we going to my favorite place to eat? Sonic. That's right. Oh, it's so good. Corn dogs.
There's supposed to be chicken on this.
There's just bacon?
There's supposed to be chicken, but I got bacon, so.
All right, so we're going up to Strawberry Reservoir. That's where we plan to camp tonight. It's a really cool spot. There's some good camping spots up there, and there's a ton of trail system up there. So that's mainly why we chose that spot. Now, I went through and laid out a loose route. There's a lot of different options that we can choose, but basically the route that we laid out has a lot of different terrains and road types, pavement, double track, single track in some spots. So I think it should give us a good test and review on these bikes and how we've got them set up, some of the accessories that we have.
Yeah, our first segment, we've got a bunch of highway to get up the canyon to get to those dirt roads. So let's get right into back onto the bikes and talk a little bit about how they perform on the road, especially with all the accessories we've added.
All right, so if you guys have not seen our first impression of these two bikes, well, we actually used the Husky 501, but essentially the same machine, other than it has linkage and the KTM does not. But to really quick summarize our thoughts on both of these bikes are that they're both very awesome and very capable bikes. Now, our standouts for each bike were that the Honda really has a lot of comfort built into it, and that combined with the rest of the bike just makes it a well-rounded motorcycle, and we love that about it because it can be made to work for so many different types of riders, and it's just awesome. Now, the KTM and Husky bikes, that really started to stand out when we got it in the off-road and more aggressive type of riding conditions. The engine, first of all, it's very linear, so it just pulls and pulls and pulls, and it makes it very easy to ride and very fun to ride. Now, that combined with the stock suspension on the KTM and Husky, it really is refined and works well in those more aggressive off-road types of riding. And those were really the standouts of that bike. So, like I said, both bikes are very awesome and actually pretty comparable to each other. And that's why we're so excited to be out here today comparing our light ADV setups against each other. Better stop off and get some gasolina before we head up the canyon. The little Acorn. That's a real mom and pa shop right there.
.1 gallons of goodness right here. Thank you to Cherry Bees. 100 plus miles. Let's see Wes take on that. Hey Wes, I got a little test for your mother hips over there. You got some pretty tight cones here. Let's see how good you are at weaving them.
Dude, I gotta worry about that Blazer right there with these hips.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know, that second turn's pretty tight.
All right, let me show you how it's done.
Oh, he's got that slow. Oh, yep.
Oh. Hey, I didn't knock him over, so
I'll give you
still okay.
an E for effort. All right, Wes, well, we are on our way to camp, and so let's kind of talk about these bikes a little bit. The KTM and Husqvarna, they are just like the bulletproof go-to for anyone that's looking to do enduro, dual sport, light ADV like we're doing today.
That's right, the KTM 500, it really is the standard of the dual sport, performance dual sport market. So it's really what all the other bikes are compared to, and that's why we did the test on this new 450L against that or the Husky 501. So yeah, I'm riding the brand new 450L. Again, obviously this is Honda's first take on a performance dual sport in the market, and we were really impressed with this bike. I mean, it definitely is a solid first effort. After that, as that video concluded, we both kind of decided that this bike is really good for the commuter, maybe somebody that occasionally hits gnarly trails, but maybe does a little more commuting or just mild type riding on it compared to the KTM or Husky.
This KTM, it's got gobs of power, especially since we opened it up and put that Lex exhaust on it. And you know, I can just get on this thing even in 6th gear up these hills, and it really just keeps going. I don't have any problem with trying to get to a comfortable speed.
So the Honda, they definitely emphasized, I mean, it was obvious that one of their goals is to smooth this thing out and just make it super comfortable for those pavement rides. And yeah, it's super smooth, super stable at this, you know, a little bit higher speed. I mean, we're 50, 55 miles an hour right now, and it's super smooth, confidence inspiring. I could pound out some pavement miles on this thing for sure.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of your throttle response though. I think KTM totally beats you out when it comes to nice smooth power, especially when you get into that stop and go. Yours is a little bit abrupt.
And I'm thinking that's really a fueling mapping problem that Honda, I don't know why they didn't fix it from the factory, but everybody that's hopped on this bike definitely noticed that, especially in the lower city style commuting stuff. So that initial blip of the throttle, the on-off, is just really abrupt.
We'll see what happens when we get on the dirt though. That's where the real test is going to happen.
Pretty cool to be riding basically a dirt bike on these canyon roads though.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that we're going to be on dirt here pretty soon, being pretty capable, but we're also going, you know, 70 miles an hour on basically a freeway through the canyon.
All right, Diamond Fork Canyon, here we come.
So now that we're on a little bit slower of a road, let's talk a little bit about our different setups. So I am going with the optimal, minimalist, barely above a dirt bike setup with this KTM. That's really more my style. I really love the dirt. And so I'm actually going, as far as my luggage goes, I'm going with the 303 rackless setup. It's basically designed for KTMs like this. It's a really minimal design. I was able to pack just the bare minimum I needed for this one-day overnight trip, and I definitely think that I've got the superior setup. But what about you, Mr. Mother Hips over there?
Dude, to be honest, I think we're still gonna get made fun of with how much stuff you packed for one night.
Wait, so what you're saying is you're gonna give me crap for how much I've packed when you basically have twice as much storage and weight as I do?
Well, let me plead my case a little bit here. So I wanted to test the limits of this bike. So basically, we built a luggage rack setup for it. I can haul full-size panniers, I can haul boxes, whatever I want. We actually just got done a few months ago with our Hooked on Phoenix ride with this bike. It's a 1,000-mile ride from Mesquite down to Phoenix. We also watched the Supercross while we're down there. It's a dang good time. But this thing kept up just fine. No issues with bigger bikes like 690, 701, DR650, the DRZ. This thing can do it all, man.
Yeah, I will give that to you. I mean, it's not that practical for today's situation, but I'm still going to stick with the lighter, minimalist setup. You'll see when I get to camp, I didn't even pack a tent, so as long as it doesn't rain, I'm golden for days and days and days. All right, Wes, I'm not gonna lie though, one place you've got an advantage is with your seat. So I do have a seat concept seat just like you, but I've got the tall one, and it's kind of more of a motocross trail seat, and we've been on the pavement for a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie, my butt's getting a little sore, and that wide XL seat concept seat's looking pretty nice.
Dude, I can just scoot on back. It's like I'm sitting on the couch watching a awesome dual sport ride, man. It's good stuff. So Josh, while we're still on the pavement, let's talk about weight and just power to weight ratio and what these bikes look like with us and our luggage on them. So my bike with luggage, I packed about 60 pounds of luggage on this thing, so that totals out at about 366 pounds, I believe we measured. And I'm about $150, so I'm close to that, well, just over 500 pounds.
You're the heavyweight. I'm coming in at 190 pounds, so even though I weigh more, I actually am still under you, because with the luggage and the bike together combined, this bike actually came in at about 302 pounds. So I'm just under the $500 pound mark with my luggage and my body weight combined. So with the extra displacement in this bike, I've definitely got the advantage of power. But you know, I've ridden that Honda, and they've actually done a pretty good job. That thing spools up pretty fast, and I don't know, it might be a good just test to do a little roll on. What do you think?
Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
I would say that went probably just as much as we expected.
Yeah, they're pretty evenly matched. I mean, you started pulling later on me, but they were neck and neck for a minute there, so.
Yeah, this thing does good on that top end. It's got that kind of motor where it just feels like it keeps pulling and pulling and pulling, and it just makes it fun.
If you're not shifting on this, it kind of signs off on the top. You got to keep it in the right gear for sure.
I will give it to you that 450, it's going to suit most people's needs. You know, when you're on a trail, it's got more than enough power. Even though we didn't do any engine mods on it, it's still a very capable machine.
All right, let's get these babies into some dirt. Dang, I hope I can fit through that.
Dude, you almost tossed it first corner.
All right, baby, check this stuff out. Nice little 2-track trail. Oh, I'm feeling the weight a little bit now. Dude, this stuff is sick. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, baby, this is what these bikes are meant for. Good old 2-track.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is light adventure at its finest.
Yeah. Wall ride, baby. Let's do it. Dude, this is so cool. Oh, heck yeah, dude.
Oh, look at that view. Only a few miles, well, not even, probably a mile into dirt.
Gorgeous. So both of us are running the Dunlop D606s. It's definitely a more aggressive tire than what came stock on both of these bikes. And it's definitely our favorite as far as dual sport, adventure riding, that type of thing.
Yeah, they might not last the longest, especially if you have long pavement sections, but you know, the durability is pretty dang good. You can get thousands of miles on these, and you're basically getting as close to a dirt bike tread that you can get. And you know, we love them. I freaking love them on this KTM. It's so much fun to just rip, even though this is like dry and rocky. You know, that contact patch is great. I can ride this thing pretty close to like a dirt bike right now.
Yeah, that's definitely needed in this type of terrain. This is pretty dang rocky trail. trying to just stay loose and let the bike do what it wants to underneath you. It's a good time though.
I mean, it's pretty technical. These rocks are bouncing all over the place, and you get stuck in these rain ruts. It's nice to have a little bit of confidence with what's going on underneath, especially with the front tire. That's a big thing in this dry dirt.
But I'll tell you one thing, I can definitely feel my luggage behind me. I'm a little bit top heavy.
Another thing I'm actually really impressed with this KTM is the gearing. It's pretty crazy to me that in that 6-speed gearbox, you know, it really is that long range from low to high. Like, I haven't even really been in first gear at all yet.
Really?
And I imagine, unless it's like really steep and really technical, or you're just maybe having to go slow, or you're not comfortable in a certain situation, you're going to be super happy just rolling around in second gear. But then when you get on the freeway, it's pretty cool to be able to hit 70, 75 and still be able to pull some torque out of the machine.
You find yourself shifting much on this stuff?
Not quite. I'm like second, third gear pretty much this whole time.
That is the nice thing. I mean, that's what I'm noticing too. Like on these big bore bikes, they really are known for, you know, just being able to hold the gear. They've got enough torque to just pull out of it when you need to roll on the throttle, just like that. All right, looks like the gnarliest part of the trail we've hit so far. Oh yeah, baby.
All right, this is getting pretty intense for sure. Gonna have to test out that low gear. I talked about earlier I wasn't in first gear yet, but I'm definitely using the first gear now. Wah! Lost momentum. Yeah, this is no ADV trail. Oh, that didn't sound good.
No. Brandon, you okay?
I couldn't tell if that was like, oh crap, the train is hard, or like, oh crap, I'm going down.
Hey, you guys all right? Hello? Okay, we got Josh on the DRZ now.
Wes, what do you think of my new ride?
I would call it an upgrade to some and not very many maybe, but the clutch was getting a little hot. We didn't want to smoke it, so we're gonna try and see if we can keep our momentum up this and finish out this climb.
Old Faithful right here. Oh! Yeah. This clutch is freaking sucky. It doesn't go, and all of a sudden it's like full blown, just sending it. But there's no play left in the clutch, so I'm gonna loosen it out a little bit more, but I'm worried that it's gonna just start getting worse. Oh, come on, DR, you got this. Ah! Dude, this thing's gonna be gnarly. Yeah! Gosh dang it! It's like it's in second gear. It's terrible. Our navigation was, well, you know, things look good from the sky most of the time, but sometimes when you get into reality, it's a little bit different. Brandon's bike started smoking the clutch a little bit, so got to a little bit of a survival situation there for a minute.
We kind of played musical bikes. I mean, I think all of us swapped bikes at least once. Other than Shane, he was on the 701 the whole time. How was that thing?
It was good. A little bit of a dog up here, but you just gotta keep moving, keep your feet on the pegs.
So our trail just heads up this ridge over here. It's right behind us. We're hoping it's not too bad from here on out, but you know, I think the real thing is like this is part of the adventure, right? You're doing a new route, on bikes and you're testing them out, and this is kind of just part of the game, is just go on an adventure. So we're probably not going to make it to the reservoir.
I thought that we were bridging the gap with these bikes between dual sport bikes and adventure, but I think on this trail we're bridging the gap between dual sport and dirt bikes. But we're going to keep on keeping on. We're taking a little break, refueling with some gummy bears here, so we're going to make it to wherever we can make it with these bikes.
Hopefully we'll see you at camp.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, Wes is up there on the DRZ. He's just gonna try and motor that thing out of here with that clutch kind of going out.
These bars are not very straight on this thing.
Oh, dude, they're so bad. It's so hard to get it going straight.
Woohoo!
Yeah, for anyone watching this, we do have to apologize a little bit. You came to watch Bursa's video, and now you're watching 4 people squib out on a 2-track on different bikes that weren't even in the video to start with. So don't worry, to be continued. We'll get back to the regularly scheduled programming here pretty soon.
There's one switchback. Done.
Brandon! Oh,
You good?
look out!
Some of the stuff you can see when you're riding bikes like this, you wouldn't want to do this on anything else, man. Check this view out behind us. It's just breathtaking, man.
Yeah,
It's been a heck of a half of first day.
I think we're being rewarded quite well right now. So
Yeah.
hopefully the trail keeps a little bit more mild.
But, dude, check out that view. Oh my gosh. That's insane! Well, the DRZ doesn't quite compare to the 450, but we're doing our best on it.
You've been working pretty hard. The 450 seems to be doing pretty well. You could definitely feel that extra luggage, so you need to go lighter next time.
I've been very impressed with it all day. It's been doing everything. You can definitely feel that extra weight in the back, so it makes the front end pop up, especially on this super steep switchback. So other than that, I've been stoked. It's good stuff. We're having a lot of fun and enjoying these beautiful views. Ah, finally some flatter, smoother roads to just cruise on.
Yeah, this is pretty good. Like, this is the good stuff. You know, you labor a little bit, you get through some hard parts, but I'm so glad that we're getting rewarded.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is pretty cool up here.
Dang. The views are just itching up here.
I don't know, how did that 450L back there do in that rough rocky hill?
Dude, I'm loving this thing. With the motor and the suspension on this thing, it really just likes to be ridden fast. It's got that little bark down low, and then when you really let it sing, it goes. It's a lot of fun on these trails.
Yeah, man, I don't know. As far as power goes, I'm really, really liking this KTM. I think the best way to explain it is that it's super consistent. The throttle response is really smooth, and so even if you're in the rough stuff, it's pretty easy just to keep it really consistent and smooth. The other thing is, I think it's maybe just this combination of this Lex exhaust and that motor power. Like, when you want to get on it, this thing just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. One thing I've actually noticed that really is helping out in this rocky stuff is this GPR stabilizer. That has really, really helped keeping this thing steady and straight when we're getting into that chop.
Not getting a lot of deflection off of those big softball-sized rocks and stuff, huh? If that's working for you, that's awesome. I mean, like, that's what's so cool about the market and how it's been growing the last few years, is we, the customers, are the winners. We get more choices, and not everybody is the same. Not everybody likes the same type of thing. Same bike, same color even. I mean, believe it or not, that plays a big role in some people's decision on what bike they ride. But it's just cool to see more and more options in the market.
I'll say it again. If you got a little bit lighter setup on that Honda, I think I would might be swapping you over. But we'll I don't know. We'll do a little bit more testing when we get to camp. We might talk about this a little bit more.
We're gonna find a place to camp here pretty soon, but we are still on for the trip, I guess you could say.
I'd say camp's the next destination, so let's hit it.
All right. Oh, check that out.
through the tree.
Send it. All right, baby. Oh, tow mirrors don't fit. Oh, oh. Woohoo! Oh dear. Getting some water. I need some of that water. Stalled out. Too high a gear. All right, guys, we just made it to camp a little bit late. We didn't make it as far as we wanted due to some gnarlier trails than we expected and anticipated, and
Navigation over here. I have actually, I've been giving Wes a hard time about his heavy, wide hips over here. But there is some benefits that he's got that I don't. One is that he's carrying the tools and I've got no room for that. Another is that I didn't actually have room for shoes. And so I'm going moto boots all night, which isn't too bad for an overnight, but if you're doing multiple days, that can kind of get old. The other thing is that there wasn't much room for a tent. So I actually opted out to do a hammock. It shouldn't be too bad up here because it's pretty warm, but it definitely is a different way to camp, and it's, it just falls into that light adventure style of camping. So this is the Wolfman Rolly 303 setup. So these are, we've got the E-base underneath. It's their smaller rackless system. And on the sides, I've got their medium rollies. We've also got their drink holder wrapped on there. We've got this long rolly, and then I've got a small rolly attached to that on top. And as you can see, this thing is pretty stout. It's on there good, and like I talked about earlier, it really just does well when you're flopping around. You don't feel the weight, adding to the flop.
And to help support all that, you've got this rear rack with Pro Moto Billet, right? So
yeah,
that's a pretty nice rack. I mean, obviously, like, the subframe doesn't come clear back on this bike like it does on the 450L, which we'll show you in a minute, but pretty dang nice setup for an overnighter. I'm pretty jealous, I'm not gonna lie.
One cool thing about this is that the rollies are mounted just to the E-base, and so it actually makes it super easy to take this off. So you just undo these straps, it's strapped underneath the rack here, and then you can just slide the entire E-base off and rock it like that. So if you need to get to the seat or get to the air filter and it's blocked, it's a pretty easy way just to pull it off.
For the battery, right?
Yeah, even the battery and everything. So that is definitely something, if you guys are watching and want to check these out, that's something I think it's worth noting.
An overnighter, I'm jealous of this setup, but like I said, we wanted this to be able to run with the big bikes like the 701, 690. So I have the Tusk pannier rack setup. I also have a Tusk top rack, and that really just gives me a super sturdy way to strap stuff down, and I can run pretty much anything that I want on here. Right now, I've got an old set of the Wolfman Rocky Mountain saddlebags. We absolutely love these saddlebags. They're cavernous big bags. They let you take anything you want, and I've done 8-day trips with these bags. It gives you plenty of room.
Yeah, with this setup, basically.
Yeah, basically. So on the top, I'm actually trying the 303 duffel, which this is a newer item from Wolfman. It's kind of a smaller duffel than we usually run it on the top. I figured I'd save a little weight and a little bit less space with this thing, but it's still super heavy setup. Like I said, it's been bouncing me around a lot today, but now that we're at camp, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, one thing that's worth noting, I think, for this, and especially 450L owners, is that obviously you don't have to run this whole setup with the Tusk panniers and the top rack. You can actually get just the top rack. So if you're more of a commuter and you're looking to do something pretty small, you can rock just that top rack and maybe do something like this where you're stacking on some rollies. You get a lot more options that way. And I think that's more the style of what people are doing with these 450Ls, and definitely worth looking into, because if you're not into those long day rides, then this pannier rack system is totally overkill.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And the nice thing about this bike is they did give you extra support for the subframe. So it's ready to go, and we love that about it.
All right, guys, so we're doing a little night ride in here. We wanted to show you these Baja Design Squadron lights. So I've got mounted in the Squadron Pro, and it's a really cool setup. It actually replaces your stock headlight, and it goes right into the assembly, and it's a spot flood combination, and these things are insanely bright. You know, they're LED, so they don't draw a lot of power, but they're so much brighter than your stock setup. You know, like, I love that I can ride this thing at a pretty decent speed right now and actually be able to see where I'm going. You know, that's something you don't get with a lot of different lights. And Wes is actually running a really cool setup where he's got the Squadron Pro and the S2 combination, and so he's got a driving light on top, and then he can switch on the Squadron Pro underneath that as his bright. Yeah, look at that range coming all the way across. Pretty dang crazy.
Okay, there's regulars, brights. Regulars.
Hey, shut that off real quick, Wes.
Slept pretty good last night. Thanks to my 0 degree sleeping bag. Love that thing. I pack it wherever. People make fun of me, but I don't like to be cold. So everybody else was complaining about being cold last night. I was good, dude. Now we're just packing up camp, getting ready to leave the trail. Yeah, should be another good day of riding.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. First thing, we're leaving camp. We decided we're actually gonna switch bikes just to give you guys a, you know, head-to-head kind of more of the comparison and our thoughts between it. So we're just gonna get going down this single track trail and kind of get a feel for how these things feel with the different types of setups.
Oh, the initial throttle response is not as jerky as the Honda.
Oh, and the weight is already here.
I like the taller bars on this thing. It's nice when standing up.
Yeah, I think first thing, I mean, if anyone has ridden these things stock, you'll kind of get the sense of this right off the bat, but this 450 has got real good power. For a real true comparison for our next video, and you guys can maybe just comment what you think about this, is having a similar setup for both bikes. I think that's kind of been the Achilles here, is we went a little bit too polar opposites as far as our luggage setups.
Yeah.
So the KTM just feels like the obvious winner because it has the less weight, and that setup is just so like rock solid on the bike, so you're not feeling it so much.
For sure.
This one, you know, you can feel it kind of flopping when you really start working. If you're on road and stuff, this thing I think is superior. It's smoother, and you don't feel the weight as much.
I completely agree. This luggage setup is awesome on this bike, and the suspension is definitely a little stiffer, so it handles that stuff better. But I would definitely ditch that luggage setup for just this. It was way overkill for this overnighter. So this is the better setup for sure.
Well, and even just sitting on this for a couple seconds, like, I feel so much more comfortable. Like, this seat, like, they're both seat concept seat like we talked about earlier, but this one is so much more comfortable, and this thing is really, it's a pretty good all-arounder. Yeah, but the off-road aggressive stuff, it's gonna win. Yeah, as you guys are watching this, let us know what you think. You know, we're trying to do a little bit different style of videos for you guys, and so if you like this style where it's a little bit more off the cuff, or if you like more of like the just straight to the informative stuff, you know, comment below. We want to make, you know, content that you guys are really liking and you want to see.
All right, well, I want to keep riding, Josh. I don't know about you, but
yeah, let's go.
feel that weight, baby. Oh, this is cool, man. We've come to the end of our lightweight adventure shootout of both of these bikes. We've ridden pretty much every terrain that is out there, from pavement, highway, canyon riding, curvies. We hit some 2-track, we hit some curvy single track, we hit some gnarly single track that was kind of 2-track single track with rocky steep hills. It just really beat the tar out of us. Really, we just took these things through the whole gamut of terrains, and it was really good experience to kind of test how these separate setups really did in all those types of terrains. We didn't make it to our final destination. The gnarliest of the trails, we didn't expect it, so it took us longer than we thought. But overall, it was a success. We found a nice place to camp. we did what we needed to on this trip, and both bikes performed very well. I had a dang good time.
I think that's the spirit of adventure. I mean, that's the beauty of being able to do this, is that it literally got to about dusk and we're just like, okay, where's camp? And so we just kept riding until we found it. And like, you just can't do that in a lot of scenarios. I think for both of us, I think we picked the right bike to start off with. At least that's what we were talking about. And for me, I really am liking this KTM. As far as the power goes, I think it's got the optimal setup. It's just consistent. It's got a really good low range that comes on smooth, and then it just keeps pulling. So if you need that power, you've totally got it. And that Lex exhaust is awesome. It definitely helps just clean this thing out. I think the biggest factor for me is probably luggage. So if you're doing a light adventure and you're only doing 1, maybe 2 days, I think this is definitely optimal, like we've been talking about. The one thing I would like though is a little bit more. So if I did have maybe, I don't know if they'll fit, but the large rollies on the side, or even a large rollie on top, so I had a little bit more room for shoes, water, a couple of those other little niceties that are nice to have in the camp, maybe even a setup so I can run a tent a little bit easier. That would definitely be my optimal setup. But if you're only looking to do overnights and like minimum 1 to 2 days, I think this setup is awesome. A couple other things I really like about this bike and just the setup is the trail performance. So I like the tank. I think it balances out the luggage really well for when you're on the trails and when you're on the road. Just the weight of it and the capacity, obviously you get that distance. Another thing as far as the trail performance I really like is the bars and that stabilizer. That, I think, for the terrain that we went through, that really kind of broke the line of having this thing be the optimal setup for that trail setup. The flex bars are plush and they complement the suspension, and then that GPR stabilizer, it just kept me tracking smooth when we were going through all that rough chop. So those are probably the only couple things I'd really change if I were to do anything different. But yeah, if you're doing the light stuff, this is the way to go for sure.
I agree with everything that Josh said. I really did enjoy this KTM. It's a good bike, and it really is, it stands out in that gnarlier off-road riding. But the Honda, so this thing makes awesome power. You guys know it is a 450, it's super fast, and it likes to be ridden fast, and I feel like that really suits my style. So I love the motor and power delivery of this thing. So now let's move back to the luggage setup on this thing. So with these racks in this luggage setup, coupled with the extended supported subframe on this thing, it makes it able to carry that luggage. And that's one of the biggest standouts of this bike, is the versatility. So if you guys are like me and can't afford multiple bikes, you need one bike to be able to do it all. And I feel like that really is the standout of this Honda 450L. So for my next overnighter, obviously I'm pretty jealous of Josh's Wolfman rackless setup. So I'm gonna ditch these racks, install a top rack, and run some of those smaller bags so I have a little bit more control and the bike's not controlling me so much on that tighter, gnarlier off-road stuff. One of my biggest other points on this bike is just the overall comfort of it, and one of those biggest contributors to that is the Comfort XL seat from Seat Concepts on this thing. I would call it our must-have #1 upgrade for this bike because the stock seat is so hard and so uncomfortable for those longer rides.
Yeah, that's something I didn't really mention about with mine, and that is actually something I would like to incorporate a little bit more into this KTM. That XL seat is so much more comfortable. After a day of riding yesterday, my butt is sore, to be honest. And so this Seat Concept seat is awesome for trails. It's definitely more trail oriented with a little bit of comfort. That thing, as far as the seat comfort and just the plushness of the suspension, it was totally trumped this. So that's definitely something that I was jealous of and that I really appreciated when I got on that bike.
Yeah, I mean, check this out. It's a ton wider in the back, so you can scoot back, get a little more platform for your butt to sit on, but still stay slim when you're getting aggressive on the bike off-road. Now, one more thing I do want to point out is the IMS tank. So the stock tank was just over 2 gallons, well, basically 2 gallons, and that just wasn't enough for this type of riding. I mean, if you're just doing short little trail rides, that might be okay, but this IMS 3-gallon tank gets us over that 100-mile range and allows us to do those longer rides that we really enjoy. So for me, the Honda wins it. If I was to spend my personal money on a bike, it would be the Honda, just because of the versatility. It can do everything. It suits all my needs. All I got to do is switch my luggage setup around, and I can do multi-day rides, I can do overnighters, and I can take everything off and just get it really aggressive in those off-road trails. All right guys, so hopefully this video gave you a better idea of not only the next bike that you want to choose for yourself, but once you get that bike, also the accessories that you want to outfit it with to really set it up and get it dialed in for your type of riding.
Yeah, and we like doing this kind of content for you guys, and we want to tailor it for you. So if you like this type of build video or this versus video, make sure and comment below. Also, if you'd like to see different types of versus videos and different type of content, definitely comment that below. And while you're there, make sure and like and subscribe. Also hit that notifications button to stay in the loop with what we're doing. So with that said, we're gonna head home.
Thanks for watching.